Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today is a very special video because I'm going to be starting some indoor seeds for my spring garden, which will be going outdoors in about 6 to 8 weeks. Today specifically, I'm going to be planting some herbs and some lettuce for my spring garden outside, which will be growing indoors for the first 6 to 8 weeks. So as you can see here, I have an indoor garden setup that I've been using all winter long. It's right here in my kitchen. I have some parsley, some basil, some dill, some chives, some Grand Rapids lettuce, some romaine lettuce, and I have been using this almost every day this entire winter. It has been so nice having this in my kitchen to be able to grab from for our meals. So let's get started on planting some seeds. So the things you're going to need for planting seeds is some soil, some trays, and your seeds, of course. So I've already picked out my seeds that we're going to be planting today, and we'll go through them in just a little bit. So first things first, you need to make sure you're using the right type of soil. So in this bag, I have some potting mix as well as some seed starting mix, and I'm just mixing it together to create a nice light potting soil for my seeds to germinate. First things first is you need to make sure you're working with damp soil. You don't want to work with dry soil because your seeds just aren't going to germinate. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to soak down this soil and mix it all up to make sure it's nice and saturated before we even begin planting. So I'm just pouring some water in here and then I'm going to mix everything up. You want your soil to be a nice consistency, such as that of some brownie mix, some nice moist soil to start with your planting, because you want to make sure that your seeds have a good base to start with. So my soil is all mixed up and mixed in with the water, and if I pick it up here, you can see that it kind of holds together in my hand. It doesn't crumble apart too much. It's nice and damp. It's about the texture of crumbly brownie mix, which is what you want. It's nice and dark. It's not a light brown, which shows that the soil is dry. So I can tell that this soil is nice and moist and ready to be planted. So I'm just going to take my 4 cell trays here and I'm going to fill these with soil. You want to make sure that you don't have any holes in your soil so that your seeds have a nice place to germinate and grow. So I'm just going to be packing these down, making sure they're nice and filled in, and then we'll start planting our seeds. Alright, so we have all of our seed cells started. These are packed with soil. Like I said, this is a mixture of potting soil and seed starting mix. It just creates a nice soft light base for the seeds so that it's not too heavy. It's dampened soil, so it's already been pre-moistened with water, and I have 12 trays here, so I'm going to be able to plant a lot of seeds here today. Now you want to make sure that your containers, whatever containers you're using, have holes on the bottom so that the water can seep out. You don't want your little seedlings to get waterlogged. That could kill them off. So you want to make sure that whatever tray you're using, whether it's egg cartons or plastic containers that you have laying around your house, or whatever it is you have, just make sure that it has some holes in the bottom for the water to be able to drain out. So in today's video, we're going to be planting herbs and lettuces. Specifically, I have early curled Simpson lettuce, Grand Rapids lettuce, red romaine lettuce, green romaine lettuce, dwarf green curled kale, and red Russian kale. Those are the lettuces I'm going to be planting today. And then for herbs, I have the Italian large leaf basil, garlic chives, mammoth dill, purple opal basil, which is a beautiful basil, parsley, and oregano. So let's get planting. I'm going to start off with some oregano. Now these seeds are super tiny, and what I like to do with most herbs is overseed. Now what that means is I'm not just dropping 1 or 2 seeds in each little cell. I'm going to be planting many seeds. So I just have a pinch in my fingers. These seeds are so tiny, and I'm just sprinkling them in each of these 4 little cells. The overseeding method ensures that multiple seeds are going to germinate and you're going to have plenty of herbs. You don't want to rely just on 1 or 2 seeds. So we're just gonna sprinkle those seeds right in those 4 trays. Now, because these are so small, we're not gonna cover them with soil. I'm just gonna press them down and they're planted. Now, you wanna make sure that you label your seeds because you're gonna forget what you've planted. Next up is the parsley. Same thing as with the oregano. We're just gonna sprinkle some seeds in our hand and overseed each of the 4 little trays. Now, the parsley seeds are slightly bigger, so we don't need to plant as many as I did the oregano, but you wanna make sure you have plenty of parsley so you can be generous. Put the excess back. Now with this one, you definitely want to make sure that you cover the seeds with a little bit of soil. And press it down lightly. Next up is our purple basil. This is such a lovely basil. The color is just beautiful. Again, we're going to overseed. We're going to plant generously. We want lots of basil. Basil is one of my favorite herbs. Now, basil is actually considered a warm weather herb, so it thrives better in the summer months. But there's no reason why you can't start your basil now and have it growing indoors. And you can even put it outside during the day when it's a little bit warmer outside. So I'm just using a little bit of extra soil and covering those seeds. Pressing them down lightly. And they're planted. Let's do our green basil next. I just love getting my hands right in the soil. It's the best feeling. Thankfully, spring is just about a month away. Next up is our dill. Now, dill is actually a cool weather herb. It thrives in temperatures of 40 to 80 degrees. Definitely good for spring. These seeds are just a little bit bigger, same as the parsley, or very similar. And again, we're just going to overseed. Last but not least for our herbs is our garlic chives. Garlic chives is a cool weather herb as well. It's going to thrive in those spring temperatures. In the summer, if you want to grow these cool weather herbs, you definitely just want to put them in a little bit of a shadier spot. But they do tend to bolt and flower just a little bit quicker in those warmer temperatures. Press it down just a little and sprinkle with soil. And our herbs are planted. Let's move on to our lettuces. Now with our lettuces, we're going to be planting them just slightly differently. Let's start with our kale and I'll show you how we're going to plant our lettuce. So our kale seeds, this is our red Russian kale. This is a nice little round seed, but with our lettuces, we're going to be only planting 2 per cell. You want to plant more than 1 to ensure that you don't waste a cell and that your seeds germinate, but you don't want to overseed your lettuce because we're going to be letting these grow to full maturity. So once we have our seeds there, we're just going to press them ever so lightly down into the soil just below the surface and then cover them. And add our tag. Let's move on to our dwarf green curled kale. We're going to plant the same way, just 2 per cell. Try to get just a few in my hand there. And we're just going to drop 2 per cell as best you can. If you get a few more in there, no worries, we can thin them out later. And again, you just want to take a pencil or something small and just press them down into the soil lightly. Now with our green romaine, we're going to do the same thing. The green romaine seeds look slightly different. They're light in color and a little longer. But we still only want to try and plant 2 or 3 per cell. Now with romaine and a lot of lettuces, they need light to germinate. So you want to make sure that you don't put them too far down into the soil. Just barely below the surface, if at all. You can even leave them right on top if you'd like. But I like to push them just a little bit down, cover them just ever so lightly. Especially if you're planting outside, that way the wind or the birds don't take them. Moving on to our red romaine. This is a beautiful lettuce. And I love having different colors of lettuce in my salads. The red romaine seeds are slightly smaller and they're darker than the green romaine lettuce seeds. Next up is our Grand Rapids lettuce. This is a beautiful lettuce. Make sure I clean up as I go and put my seeds away so I don't mix them up. Very similar to the red romaine lettuce. Very small, dark seeds. And like I said, if you drop more than one, that's okay. We can always go in and thin them out later. Press them down into the soil, cover them lightly. One more to go, which is our early curled Simpson lettuce. And that's it. Our seeds are planted. Now, once you get all your seeds planted, you just want to take a spray bottle and lightly spray the tops of each of the seed cells. This ensures that the seeds stay nice and damp while they're germinating. So you want to make sure the tops don't dry out while your seeds are germinating. Now, when it comes to watering your seedlings, you want to wait until the soil turns a light color, that means that the water has pretty much dried out or evaporated from your seed cells. Now, once the tops of your tray have become light, you want to wait about another half day to a day before you water to ensure that the water has really drained out of the entire cell, because you don't want the bottoms of your seedlings to get waterlogged. So you probably at this early stage are only going to be watering maybe once or twice a week, but as your seedlings grow into bigger plants, you could be watering almost every day. But while they're in these trays, not more than 3 times a week, I would say, depending also on the temperature in your house. Now, when it comes to being ready to plant these outside, you want to at least let them grow in here for 6 to 8 weeks to make sure that they've grown nice and big to be able to withstand the outdoors. When it comes to planting herbs and lettuces outdoors, especially cool weather herbs, you want to make sure that you are in the 40-degree range when it comes to daytime temperatures. Even nighttime temperatures, you don't want to drop too much below freezing, because you could kill off your seedlings. Cool weather herbs and lettuces can take a little bit of a freeze, so you don't worry too much about that if you get a frost, but for the most part, you want to wait until just a couple of weeks before your last frost date. Now let me show you where I'm going to put these on my shelf and show you how to place them under the grow lights. Now that we've got our seeds planted, we're going to place them here under the grow lights. I've got a nice place set up for them on the lower shelf of my tiered shelf here, and I have grow lights here. Now the grow lights are really important for supplying them with the light they need to germinate and grow properly. When it comes to placing them under the grow lights, you definitely want to make sure that your seedlings are no more than 4 to 6 inches away from the lights. That ensures they're not going to get leggy and they're going to grow nice and tall and strong. And that's it. Now we wait for them to germinate and grow into beautiful herbs and lettuces. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful for you and that you were able to learn something from this video. Please like and share this video if it was helpful and you think it will be helpful for somebody else. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.